And the reason that moved into that week-long not talking to him was because I found yet another history on, I don't remember if it was your phone or the computer or something, where he was looking at gay porn or bi porn or something. And I was just tired of it. It was 18 years of, dude, seriously, it kills me to know that he's hiding this part of himself from me, and we could enjoy it together if he would just tell me about it.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their funny, sexy, and fascinating stories as they take us on their journey. We always strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy and positive approach to non-monogamy.
However, everyone approaches it a little differently. And at its core, our show is about hearing, highlighting, and learning from the different experiences and approaches people have. With that in mind, it is important to remember that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of our own.
So sit back, relax, and just accept the fact that your time with us will be spent in an awkward turmoil of laughter and arousal. We should also let you know that this podcast will hopefully include some explicit language.
If that kind of thing offends you, we suggest you keep listening until it no longer does. If you're under 18, you either need to stop listening or go get your parents and you can listen as a family. The choice is yours. Enjoy!
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 12. I'm Emma.
And I'm Finn.
And today we have an exciting interview with some Twitter followers of ours, Bi45. They reached out to us and wanted to come on the show, which was really exciting. And they have a unique story because they are both bisexual in the swinging community.
Yeah, they share a lot of awesome insights into what it was like for him coming out to her, the long journey that it took for that to happen, and then sort of them going in and out and having to reset their swinging dynamic at least once. So yeah, it was a really fun interview, really awesome insights, and a lot of great information. So definitely stick around. But before that, we've got our first ever listener question. Somebody reached out to us on Cassidy and shot us over a great question. And we're not really a question and answer podcast, but we're here to help build the community and help people out as much as we can. So we figured we'd go ahead and give it an answer. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out and ask them, and we'll at least answer them to you, and we'll probably answer them on the show. So,
yeah, we're not professionals, but we do have some experience, so we can provide some insight.
Yeah, so Emma's going to go ahead and read the question, and then we're going to give our best shot at answering it.
Okay, so this is from Lazzy, or I think we're saying that right.
Although I thought it was lazy because of the way the question came across, but
no,
I don't know.
Pretty sure that's not right. So anyway, he says, so we have fooled around with some friends 2 times. The first time we messed around, we were all hot and heavy with each other's spouses, and I, the guy, was too excited and came too quickly, which prompted me to want to end the swap play. My wife was still getting fucked, but since I already finished, I wanted her to stop and chill with me already. Am I wrong for that? She was a little upset over it because she didn't finish. So the wife and I have been talking about what happens if this happens again, where I come too quickly while swapping with a different partner. What is the proper thing to do? My sex drive and horniness falls pretty low after coming and are not into the moment anymore until a few minutes pass by. I was suggesting if it does happen for us again, for us to regroup and wait a little bit for my sex drive to come back up again. Am I being a little selfish, or should I sit back, wait, and watch my wife get railed until she's done? I'd rather her finish first, but sometimes I get too excited and come too quickly, but other times I last a long time. Just seeing all the playing around with wife swapping gets me really turned on. Please, any suggestions or tips that can solve this? Thanks.
Also, a quick disclaimer, the name we used for that question was the name that he requested we use, and also we answered the question to him and went back and forth, exchanged a few emails, and then asked permission to use his question. So if you send us a question, don't assume we're just going to publish it without asking you. We'll definitely ask you first, and we'll definitely make sure it's okay, and we'll get all the name stuff sorted out. So don't worry about it there. So first of all, the thing I'd like to say is that I can really relate to this. Even when Emma and I are having sex together and I finish, I pretty much don't want anything to do with sex for like at least a couple hours. I just kind of like shut down and I want to go do something else, go hiking, go do something productive. Yeah. I feel like I just wasted the last however much time. And I know that's sounds terrible, but that's just the chemical reaction that happens after sex.
We're done at that point.
Yep. And so, there's times where I have to, like, just step out for a minute and let her grab the vibrator and finish things up. So
that's true.
Not my proudest moments, but sometimes that's the way it is. And so I can really understand that. But at the same time, sometimes you just have to kind of power through. And so,
yeah, especially in group situations.
So the advice we kind of gave here was, there's a few things you can do. One is to realize that it's not all about you. And if the other woman wants to keep going and she's not finished, you can switch and start using your hands or your mouth and find other ways to pleasure her. If she is done and she doesn't need to keep going, you can reconnect with your wife and maybe like cuddle with her, hold her while she's having sex with the other guy so she gets to have hers. And you can still kind of reconnect, and she can maybe just take a little bit of have a little bit of understanding that you're kind of recovering. So maybe she needs to just give you a little bit of attention to help you recover. It's only probably going to take a few minutes.
Yeah. So the other thought we had was if you and the other woman are both kind of done for the moment. So if I was in this situation and the partner and I he was done and I was done as well, it'd be fine to step out of the room for a little bit and make a drink or go to the bathroom or just take 5 minutes and then go back into the situation. And that way you're not interrupting your wife with the other guy. I know that each couple is different, but I think taking that 5-minute break and then going back in is not a bad thing.
Yeah, and also, if the other woman wants to keep going and you really don't, and you guys are okay with it, it's okay for you to step out on your own as well and go make drinks for everybody and let her jump in and have the other guy get to have a threesome with the two women. There's so many different ways to handle it, but I think the overall point is that sometimes you kind of have to just power through these things. And I want to also say that you kind of have to give yourself room to make mistakes or to have these types of feelings at the beginning. This sounds like it was your very first time trying this.
Right.
And so stuff's going to happen. You're going to experience things and feelings you've never experienced before. And you're going to react to them. And it sounds like you realized afterwards, like, oh, I kind of maybe didn't do that right. How can we fix it? And I think that's the most important part, rather than just being like, no, I'm done, you're done, you need to come back to me, and there's no more discussion about it. So I think the fact that you guys are having the discussion.
Yeah, and that you reached out and asked us a question about it, I think that's really good. Another thing we just wanted to mention quickly is that, if this is something that you see happening over and over again, just be honest with your wife and with the other couple or whoever's in the play situation, and be honest about it up front. Say before play starts, say, hey, sometimes I get a little too excited, come a little too quickly, and I may need to step out for a few minutes. That's okay. Just as long as you're upfront and honest about it, I think that helps maybe calm nerves and make the situation a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, and I think any reasonable and nice couple would be like, okay, cool, no problem.
Yeah.
And the guy's probably like, sweet, I get to have two women for a little while. So.
Or maybe the other guy has the same problem and says, oh yeah, me too, I might do the same.
Right, so.
Or maybe a woman does that too. That's very true. Sometimes orgasms are really intense and you need a few minute break.
So that was sort of our thoughts on it. If you guys have any opinions on it, feel free to shoot them over on Twitter or our email, which is nnmpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Cassidy. Our screen name is NNM Podcast. Our Twitter handle is NNM Podcast. So,
as in normalizing non-monogamy.
Yep. So reach out, say hi. If you have any other questions, want to respond to this, or if you want to come on the show, just reach out.
Yeah. And our website real quick is normalizingnonmonogamy.com.
And that's important because that's where we keep all the show notes for this show. So any of the resources we're going to talk about, you can jump over there, see a full list of all those resources and anything else you might need. So with that, we're going to jump into the interview. We're here with Mr. and Mrs. B. It's our very first brand new couple that we've never met before. They just reached out to us via Twitter and said, hey, we'd like to come on the show. So thank you guys again for doing that.
It's great to have you here.
Yeah.
It's our pleasure. Thank you very much for asking.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for anyone, including ourselves, who don't really know anything about you guys, could you tell us maybe a little bit about who you are and sort of what non-monogamy, like a high level, looks like for you guys, and we'll dive into it a little bit deeper.
Okay, we have been in the lifestyle as swingers, leaning more toward the bisexual aspect of that. We're both bi, and we have a tendency to go more toward like the single bi guy in the lifestyle as well. We have been in it for about a year and a half.
Okay.
There is a 3-month break. In the middle of that, we took time off to sort of recalibrate ourselves and all that sort of stuff. And so we are in our mid-40s. We have been married for a little over 23 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
He got the number right. Yay.
Yes. Research beforehand. And so we're still considered, like, I guess, newbies in this.
Yeah. Well, what got you guys into this a year and a half ago?
Yeah, what was that initial conversation? Who brought it up to who, and how did that play out?
That actually was brought up a little bit over time. It's dirty talk in bed. Oh my gosh, could you imagine the guy coming in here and touching me and whatever? And then that just ramped up into his bi story and coming out to me. And then I think just one night I just mentioned, hey, let's make a profile on a swinger site and just see what happens. And then after that, it was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun.
In 30 minutes, we had the website, the profile built.
Yep.
Everything was ready, and we were accepting applications.
Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
That's pretty fast. I know a lot of people, a lot of people take a lot of time to contemplate this and build up to it. It sounds like you guys just kind of went for it.
We did.
We did the first go around. We sort of jumped in. We did, I guess, a lot of research with listening to a lot of podcasts beforehand, a lot of swinger podcasts, that we became really, really engrossed with their stories and used their experiences to our benefit of what not to do and what to do, and read a lot of articles. But we had been sharing the interests in that for a while with each other. But it was when we decided, hey, game's on. It was like within our first month, we already had our first play date scheduled.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Well, you'd spend time doing all that research beforehand, which is nice to make you understand a little bit of what you might be getting into.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's just so many. This is so much more than just sex.
Yeah.
That's just a small aspect of all of this, especially when you live in a community that is not supportive of this lifestyle, and all the amount of discretion that has to be in place, because we would lose everything if anybody found out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's true for a lot of people, and it's really unfortunate, but maybe someday it won't be the case.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Right. Yeah, because we do nothing wrong. Neither one of us are committing adultery.
Right.
We're going into this fully expecting to have sex with other people, fully knowing it, not hiding any secrets or anything like that. So there's nothing morally wrong with it. But unfortunately, it's not supported.
Right.
Right. When you guys, it sounded like when you started having the initial discussions, it was more around involving another guy. Had you come out to Mrs. B before that as being bisexual, or was that sort of like an open door for you to kind of walk through and say, hey, if we're going to explore this is something that you should know about me?
My bisexual journey, I knew early on in my adolescence that I was bisexual, but I came from an extremely conservative religious household where that was not allowed. It was never talked about, totally discriminated against. And so I hid that part of myself for many, many, many years. I wasn't willing to even accept it myself. So it took me 18 years of unsuccessfully trying to hide it from Mrs. B before she finally set me down, had a very honest conversation, said, listen, something has got to change. And whatever you say to me right now, I will accept 100% with love, with compassion, but something has got to change. And finally, I just said, at that time, I said, I'm bi-curious. And it was like this wall initially came down between us. We were able to talk more freely. We started experimenting more with that side of stuff, with toys and with videos, and it became more comfortable. It was still an everyday journey where you have to check in with each other and communicate. And there were those initial fears that this was the first step to me going fully gay, that you always hear about. And so it's still an issue. I don't want to say it's an issue, but it's still
your issue still.
It's still more of my issue because of 40-something years of being told this part of myself is wrong.
Yeah.
And then to accept it myself, that it's not wrong, it's just who I am.
Right.
And I'm lucky enough that I have a spouse that is truly supportive of that and thinks it's hot to see two guys together. So,
yeah. That doesn't hurt. I mean,
no, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, no. When you, I guess, Mrs. B, when you approached him and said, hey, something has to change here, was there some type of inkling that, like, this is, you kind of had an idea that this was what it was, or were you completely taken off guard when it happened?
For 18 years, I knew that it was something. I had an inkling because when he first met me, I was in a relationship with a woman for 3 years. So when we met each other, I was still in a relationship with her that was ending. And then when it ended, he and I became kind of best friends. And then that just kind of morphed into a relationship with with each other. And I had joked with him about that he was bi or that he was secretly gay or something. I don't know why I said the secretly gay part, but I don't know. There was just the way that he would look at guys or the way that he would interact with some friends of ours and stuff. It was different than any other guy I'd ever been with. So when the 18-year mark came along, I hadn't spoken to him for a week, only because he thought I was planning a divorce conversation because I hadn't talked with him. And the reason that moved into that week-long not talking to him was because I'd found yet another history on, I don't remember if it was your phone or the computer or something, where he was looking at gay porn or bi porn or something. And I was just tired of it. It was 18 years of, and it was less of I don't want you to give one over on me. It was more of a, dude, seriously, it kills me to know that he's hiding this part of himself from me, and we could enjoy it together if he would just tell me about it.
Yeah.
So it's more of a, let's sit down, let's have this chit chat, and then we're going to go fuck our brains out. And then, it was good from there.
Yeah.
What was there some concern that, and you mentioned this, like being concerned that it was the gateway to being gay. Were you concerned that was what was actually going on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I guess it's a lack of equipment, but now I realize it's a non-issue. Yeah. There are ways to play around it. Plus, with what we have now with our play dates and things, it's a way for both of us to get something fulfilled that we can't 100% do with each other.
Yeah. Sure. Go ahead.
So you had been open with him about being, you yourself being bi from the very beginning because he knew you had dated a woman. So yes. It was just giving him a space that he can be comfortable enough telling you about his sexuality. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, and I was also going to say it probably helped, too, on your side, understanding that it's possible to be bisexual. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily understand. They're like, well, it's either men or it's women. And being bisexual yourself, you actually are able to say, well, yeah, he's not just lying to me so he can sleep with guys. So I think that's probably a really helpful piece of that story. So congratulations, because I think that's a really fantastic success story for you guys. So that makes us happy.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful to hear. How after you had that first conversation, you said it took some time, but how did that journey go over the last few years of experiencing, coming to terms with actually being out about being bisexual?
Well, we started playing with like different toys and like with pegging and that side of things. And that went really, really well. We both realized we really enjoyed that aspect of it. And then we started watching movies together, and we would start sending pictures of either cute guys or cute girls to each other. And then we came up with a cool name for if we're out in public and we see a cute guy, we came up with hey, there's a peach. and that was the name for guys, and ladies were strawberries, and hey, look at that strawberry over there. And so we would be out public with our kids, and we'd go, hey, there's a peach on aisle 2. And so you'd go down and see aisle 2.
Right.
It became like a daily secret that we could share with each other.
Right.
And we didn't have to hide anything anymore. So if we could overcome that hurdle, then everything else was much easier to overcome. Talking about money, talking about kids, and talking about the home and all that sort of stuff, that became just so much easier because there wasn't this wall up between us anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's true we hear that a lot from other people who have, when they've started having this conversation about opening their relationship, it just makes the conversation about everything so much easier. And at that point, you guys were pointing other hot people out in the stores, and is that sort of what led the conversation to, well, what if they actually joined us, and how do we make that happen? Is that sort of the progression that it took?
I think the pointing out peaches in the grocery store came after we had started playing with people, didn't it?
It was around the same time. I would
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've always been curious about having that third person join us. But after I came, it was never.
You would never do that. I could never do that. I couldn't share you with anyone. That was the thing for a little while. But we would dirty talk it in bed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But when it would get to the point of we're almost there to make it real, then we would kind of back away. And we did that for a few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was a jealousy type concern at that point?
I think so. With me, it was. I'm extremely, extremely jealous. Yeah. Because I'd never ended a relationship. I was always the one that was fucked over, basically. So I was scared that was going to happen again, especially because you're going to invite someone else into your bed.
Right.
What if he likes another person better than me? Then I'm out.
Oh, yeah.
So what was the shift one night when you actually said, let's do it, I want to do this? What turned over that made that happen?
I guess a lot of the research we had done beforehand, where we had listened to people that went into the lifestyle after years of being married, happily married, and they continued to be happily married after the lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
and hearing them tell their stories about how they spent their weekend and how it strengthened their relationship. And that made it just seem so much more realistic. That's
Mm-hmm.
what we wanted as well. We didn't want this to change our relationship. We just wanted it to further our relationship.
Right. But the moment that moved it into a reality was a conversation on the telephone. Me and a guy friend of mine who's, I don't know, almost 10 years older than I am. I'd been friends with him for a long time. We share a hobby, and he was never friends with him because it was a different section of friends. Anyway, I was on the phone with my friend, and I made a joke. Hey, Mr. B and I have been talking. We want a third person in our bed, and we picked you. What do you think? Ha ha ha. And he goes, okay. And I almost pissed my pants. I was like, wait a minute. And I was like, I was just kidding. And then he goes, no, I'm serious. And it really funny because this guy has always been the real rough and just crotchety old man attitude, and just very, very a man's man type of person. So when he agreed to have another dude in bed with him, and I'm like, you do understand that Mr. B is bisexual, right? This might be some experimentation for him for the first time. And he was like, I don't care. Okay.
So now you guys share multiple hobbies.
Correct.
One of which is Mr. B.
That's right.
And so, yeah, that was our first experience.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first experience with another guy, because that was my first experience with anybody else other than Mrs. B.
Mm-hmm.
So she was my first when we got married. So she's the only person I've ever been with. And so that was very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I bet.
And then we listened to a lot of people, and they think that it's really, really odd that we would choose somebody that we both knew. A lot of people choose someone random. It worked for us.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't necessarily the most sexually satisfying adventure, but without having to worry about not knowing the other person. It made it more comfortable.
Yeah, I don't think that's that surprising at all, because when you're comfortable with a close friend, that just taking it one step further, the trust is already there,
Right.
Which makes a big difference.
Right.
And then we also realized that I'm a control freak in my normal life, and that carried forward to the lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So I would try to control every single. I wanted to go into it with a script. Okay, at 3:00, door, he enters the door. At 3:05, the first article close starts coming off, and they would progress toward every little aspect of it. And so it became where I would have to throw the script away and just
Be in the moment.
Yeah.
And it became a hard process for me. And still to this day, like for example, if we have a play date scheduled for Saturday, I will start on Monday planning.
Yeah. I'm not guilty of any
I
of
was going to
that.
say, Finn does that too.
Good. Because and there's a whole lot of like when we talk to people now, the process to vet somebody is much more detail focused on my end. She doesn't like to talk. She doesn't like to communicate on the kick or anything like that. So I do almost 90% of the vetting. And only when I feel comfortable with the individual do I bring her into the communication with them, knowing full well that, hey, she's not going to communicate very much. You're going to be talking to me most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a method to the madness that I use on a regular basis for everyone.
Yeah.
Right. No,
And that's different from our first time around, too, because the first time around, I felt like I needed to be in those conversations 100% of the time. So it was very, very overwhelming for me to try to, oh my gosh, it was so hard to try to be a good employer and a good mom, or good employee and a good mom and a good wife, and then boom, move over into swinger mode at different parts of the day. It was ridiculous for me. So I finally just told him I can't do it. I've just got to just X me out during the day. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that's that uncommon for people who are super busy. They let one person handle it and the other person trusts them enough and bring me in when it's time.
Well, the other person's busy handling other parts of their life too.
Right.
Because I would imagine for every one person you do meet, there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 that don't make it past the first couple of text messages of like, okay, yep, this isn't going to work. And that's just a lot of wasted time that you would have.
Yeah.
For no reason.
And our rules and boundaries, like I have that initial email already pre-saved. So all I have to do is go copy, paste, and move it over to the next person. And it sends basically, hey, listen, this is our guidelines. And if you're not okay with A, B, or C, just let us know. And we'll move on. Because there's no use of us wasting your time or you wasting our time. And so I'm just this time around, I'm just more upfront. Let's just get through the initial BS. Yes, we're all horny. We all want to have sex, but these are our guidelines to get us to the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So you met your friend, and then did you get on the websites, or was it all sort of at the same time, and that just happened to work out first?
That worked out first, and then we became involved with SLS, lifestyle, and then we quickly after that we had our first person that reached out to us on there. That was a very good experience. He was new as well. That was the experience we kind of wish was our first, because it was just a very comfortable experience, and we got to do a whole lot of exploring that night.
Okay. So that first experience with somebody else other than your friend went really well, and
Yeah. So you said back at the beginning of this conversation, you said that you've been in about 1.5 years, but you had about a 3-month break. Can you expand on that a little bit? Why you ended up having a break, and if that changed anything?
I basically had a mixture of jealousy, God issues. All of a sudden, it just seemed like I was overwhelmed with everything. We jumped in both feet first, way too fast, and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. in addition to, and I don't think you and I have talked about this, our oldest son made mention of someone that he knew in school, and he used the word whore, which our children don't talk about people that we didn't raise them that way. But he called this girl a whore, and I said, "What are you talking about? Why would she be a whore?" And he said, "Mom, she's indiscriminate." And I think that sat in my brain like a brain bomb, and I lost it. Just inside, it was just a crumbling of, oh my God, this is not right. But then we took that break, and it was a huge blow up with us because, of course, I didn't want to hurt him, and I didn't want to quit what he was enjoying, but I also didn't want to jeopardize the two of us.
Sure.
So we chilled. We cut off everything. We shut it down.
Yeah, we closed everything off.
Yeah.
We let everybody know.
Yeah.
We were never ghosting anybody. So we contacted everybody that we were in a relationship with, told them what was going on, shut down Twitter, closed, disconnected everything, and we didn't talk about it at all for a good probably 2.5 to 3 months. It never came up.
Yeah.
But we were very involved with the lifestyle.
I was going to ask, like, after that, you said you met the first person on SLS. Did it take off, like, really fast after that and almost become overwhelming? And that's what threw you into the 2-month, like, oh, shit, we went a little bit heavy in the beginning?
Yeah, within a probably 2-month window, we were probably talking to 6 different single guys, 2 couples, and trying to arrange play dates with all of them while in the middle of being a family.
And we were doing the club. We joined a club in the first part of all of this, which was fun. It was unsuccessful as far as getting together with another couple, but it was a really neat experience as far as exhibitionism.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was
so
neat.
you guys went into it 150%, just balls to the wall, right?
Yes.
And we didn't have that confidence to say no to anybody, which was really hard to begin with, because we're new and we have our own body issues and confidence issues and all this stuff. So it's like, why would we ever tell anyone no? I mean, we should be thankful anyone even wants to, hang out with us. We're not the cool kids.
Yeah.
And so it became where it was almost a full-time job just keeping up with that side of the lifestyle, with the conversations and Twitter and podcasts and the club. And it just became, even for me, and, I'm more organized, it was just a great thing for us to say, hey, we need to stop. We need to come back, just the two of us, spend some time and just relax and realize what's important.
Right. So is that, what did it look like after that 3-month reset? How did you get back into it after that 3 month?
He let me lead. He stayed to himself. He never pressured me at all. I think it was, when we have our alone time, when we have our intimate times, we watch porn, and my favorite kind of porn is gay porn, gay guy porn. So I remember one night telling him, God, I just really miss meeting new people.
Yeah.
Just meeting new people that like kinkiness or like to talk about different things like pegging or just even sex in general. Because a lot of our friends are truly vanilla. I mean, really, really boring vanilla. So I missed that connection with anyone on the outside in the swinger type lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then outside of the lifestyle, we are not social people.
No.
We don't go out and hang out with friends on a regular basis. We don't go out to a bar or anything like that. When we get off work, it's just the two of us with our kids.
Yeah.
So that sort of the lifestyle allowed us to be more social.
Yeah, it's really strange how it worked out because with his job, he's more in the front. He's very community, meeting people out in the world, and I'm in a job where I have to be with people that are in crisis a lot of times. So when we get home, it's like shut the door, close the blinds, let's not even answer the phone.
Yeah. Just want to kind of hibernate.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So have things been much better since you guys hit the reset button and recalibrated?
Very much so.
Yeah, we became much more confident with what we wanted out of the lifestyle. And that's where the form email started to come from. and where we also started like the lifestyle game, the card game. Have you all seen that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I took that and I took pictures of a lot of the green cards, just the generic questions. And so I would send those as a question of the day to whomever we were talking to. And that was a way to sort of vet them. Because if you weren't willing to talk to us for 3 or 4 days in a row, then was your attention really there?
Right.
And we started using that as just a way to sort of vet people out without having to come up with unique questions every single time.
Right.
So we use that tool. And then we also sat down and had the conversation. Okay, the month of May is coming up. How many days do we want to allocate toward lifestyles or dates? And so we just got on the same page much more so.
Yeah. How do you balance that with your regular life and not be overwhelmed by the lifestyle? Because I can definitely understand how you, Mrs. B, miss those friendships that you had gained, because I think that's one Finn and I can definitely relate to, because the friendship and being around open-minded people is such a game changer, and you don't really realize it until it happens and you meet those people and you're like, why aren't we more friends with more of these types of people? Because you can be 100% yourself, whether you have sex with them or not. That part doesn't necessarily matter.
That's right.
So have you guys started to, after that reset, scale back the number of people and more of like a quality over quantity after the 3-month recalibration?
Kind of. Our idea was that we wanted to have X amount, which was, I think, 4 or 5?
4 or 5
in the pipeline. And we actually afford ourselves to be picky this time.
Yeah.
We're really picky this time. So it's.
It has its ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As everything's do. But let's see. We probably now have 6 single guys.
I haven't counted.
And one full couple who we talk with on a weekly basis. And we're probably like 3 dates a month now. And of course that goes up and goes down. Yeah, so we are actually very busy still, but more on because we want to be versus we think we have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's really common when people first get into this. I know for us, it was very similar where we had that somebody reached out to us, we're like, oh, well, we should meet them right now because what if we don't have another chance and it doesn't matter who they are. And as you start to realize like this isn't a limited resource, like you have each other, there's going to be time to meet other people. You don't have to race out and meet 25 people in your first week just because they're there.
Right. You can say no. You can be polite and courteous about it, but you can say no. And that's something that we all need to learn. It's hard.
100%.
Yeah. And again, going back to the fact that, we're not, we were never the cool kids in high school or anything like that. And then when you listen to other podcasts and it seems like they have this huge community full of people and it's like, well, isn't that what it's supposed to be?
Yeah.
In a way. And then it's like, okay, so we have this quota that we have to meet before we're, of any real merit in the lifestyle. And then it became, no, this is our journey.
Right.
Our journey. We don't have to answer to anybody else for who we're with or things like that. And now we listen to people who maybe are in the lifestyle but only play twice a year. We're like, oh my God, how do you play twice a year? And then that, are we whores?
But you found what works for you, and that's the most important part. And some people play every single weekend or multiple times a week, and that's great. And then other people play once or twice a year, and that's just the dynamic that works. And I think that's really important to note.
And we've met people that only play on vacation. They go away once a year on vacation, and they get it all out of their system, and then
have fun. Yeah,
they don't do it again until the next year. So I mean, it's whatever's going to work for you guys, and I think that's a really important realization to come to.
Yeah. One thing I was going to note was, that 3-month break must have felt somewhat good to know that you tried it, you put a halt to it, you could close it and stop everything and it was okay. And then you could open it again. But then also having that confidence in the future that if you need to stop again in the future, you can, and it's okay. It's neither one of you, you might be a little disappointed, but your relationship is first and foremost. And you kind of proved that to yourself with that 3-month break.
Right.
And I think that was really important because she had, I think, always felt that once we started this was never going to stop for me.
Yeah.
That she, well, again, is very, very jealous, and that, that I would find something that I like better than her. And
I'm coming into this before we even met. I'm coming into this relationship 23 years ago as an extremely promiscuous, non-discriminate person who just had sex with anyone and everything that walked by. And I mean that in every sense of the word. My mother-in-law joked that this is Mrs. B. She's been around the block a few times. And I corrected her one time and said, no, let's get it right. I've been on world tour a couple of times, This one coming into complete virgin status, which definitely showed, but I didn't quite know what the hell was going on there. And with him, when us coming into swinging stuff, it was like, oh my God, it's like right out of the gate, boom. We just let a bull out. So I was afraid that he was going to get a taste of this and just run with it. I had already been there.
Yeah.
I was fine with this, but it worked out.
How have you handled some of that jealousy, or is it still something that you're battling with as an ongoing issue?
I think the last time it reared its head even a little bit was he and a guy friend that we were playing with, they had planned to take a shower together when we got to the hotel. And for whatever reason, we have a strict rule that we won't play away from each other. But in my head, I was thinking, okay, I've not been brought into this plan of showering together. So then in my head, I was like, this sounds an awful lot like playing away from each other. So it was just being a little pissy about it. So I managed to make my way around and got to kind of peek in. And it was just listening. It was stupid. It was just one of those little things. But no, I haven't had any trouble at all.
Yeah. And what was funny in that conversation is that entire conversation happened in a group chat with all three of us.
Yeah.
So we had talked about it before. We talked about it in the middle, and then we talked about it a couple of days before. And then she's like, whoa, when did we talk about this? And I'm like, honey, here, we've talked about it. This is one of his fantasies.
That's what I mean. It was stupid.
The door's going to be left open. Right. You're more than happy to pull up a chair and watch.
Which I kind of did.
Yes. And then but it's one of those where you just I have to understand where she's coming from when she says something to me.
Right.
It's not something I can idly just push back and say, your feelings don't matter. Your feelings matter more than anybody else's.
No, that shouldn't be right, though.
No, to me, your feelings matter more than anybody else's.
That's another thing we differ about.
Is it your feelings matter?
No, it's that you say all the time that I control it. I hear so many swingers say that the women control the situations, and I hate that because it should be equal on all 3 or 4 or 5, however many parts of people are playing. It should be on all the control, not just me. Like if you were to say stop, we should be able to stop. If I say stop or if someone else says stop, I don't like that the women make the calls. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it's very difficult for me. It is much more difficult for me to play with another woman than to play with another man.
Yeah.
Because women, I think, would be more timid to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And I always have told her that it always worries me that something would happen and then the woman would claim that she didn't want any part of it afterwards. And I would feel extremely guilty myself for forcing myself on.
I hadn't considered that when you first said that, yeah.
Right. And she hadn't considered that as well. Yeah. And so I just feel like with a guy, it's just more, dude, stop. But woman, you have to be much more sensitive, not only to her, but also to her spouse as well. Yeah. And so when we're in a room playing, I am so aware of where she's at, her head game, her facial expressions. And we both react to play dates completely different. It takes her a lot longer to warm up than it does me. As soon as they walk through the door, I'm ready to go. And for her, she needs her time to warm up to the situation, to have the conversation beforehand. And so I have to understand that I can't rush her on my timeline, that I have to be patient and allow her to get to where I am.
Yeah. No, and I think what you touched on there was something that I can relate to very heavily, which is you don't ever want to make somebody uncomfortable. And unfortunately, the way our society has gone for thousands of years, however you want to look at it, that women are conditioned to defer to men, and it's bullshit, but it happens. And so women are not going to be as likely to say, "Hey, I don't want to do this. You need to stop."
Potentially, they might not be.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's exceptions to every rule, but as in general, that is something that you want to be hypersensitive to as somebody who doesn't want to offend other people. And it's a hard balance, because on the flip side, it puts a lot of pressure on the woman then to now be driving a situation that she's maybe not 100% comfortable with, but
she wants to happen.
Yeah,
she wants it to happen, but she does. At least I've been in that situation where I want something to happen, but I'm also introverted and can be shy, and it's helpful once in a while for another person to take the lead a little bit. And especially if I'm feeling more uncomfortable that day for some reason. But at the same time, that's not necessarily fair to the other person either. You gotta everybody in the situation needs to be able to pull the plug at any moment.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
But that is hard for everyone to feel comfortable doing that. I mean, especially trying to stop things once everyone's naked is difficult for anybody.
I guess on that same line, how have you guys managed to navigate the topic of rules and boundaries and guidelines within the structure of play that you guys have created?
So when we first got into the lifestyle with the rules, we didn't have a whole lot of rules. One of the funniest ones was her rule.
Yeah, we had one big one, and I didn't realize how ridiculous it was until I heard probably Mr. and Mrs. Adam talking about it. I think Mr. Adam actually made a comment of, "That's so fucking stupid," and it was the no kissing rule. And now it's one of my very favorite parts, and now I'm actually kind of disappointed when I come across a dud that can't kiss well.
But yet, when you first started, you weren't there yet. So you needed to give yourself time to, and I think that's okay. You learned that about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that was one of her where that should be just between us. That was too connected to that individual to kiss somebody.
Which, yes, now I know that's fucking stupid. We're allowing someone's penis to enter me, or you're allowed to put someone's penis in your mouth, but I won't kiss them. I see now how ridiculous that is.
Yeah. No, but it's a different level of intimacy, and yes.
Right. And then, other than that, we didn't have a whole lot of other rules. Where we play safe. We have to know you 4 times. We're not going to play on the first date. Those type of rules, and those really haven't changed with us. The other rules that have changed more are the ones where we just dedicate certain times that we're going to play, and we're more communicative with each other about our lifestyle time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned not playing separate at all, even to the point where, like, in the other room in the shower, is that still something that it's always you guys in the same room as other couples or other people?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, we don't leave a hotel room. The bathroom thing was one thing, but every now and then I'll be on the bed with someone that we're playing with, and I'll look around and this one's gone. He has disappeared. But we go into it knowing that he is very excited by leaving the situation, sort of, kind of, even if it's just walking to the bathroom and just listening. It's more becoming a voyeur at that time. So, but yeah, for the most part, we're definitely play together. We don't play at separate times. One stays home and the other one goes to play. We just don't do that.
No, and I've left the actual hotel room.
No.
It's just left that individual room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would never leave with somebody who, one, I didn't know and trust and, like that. So.
Yeah.
Right. I was just going to ask, it sounds like you guys meet a lot more single guys, but you also meet other couples. Do you typically try to meet couples that have another bi guy just to help alleviate any pushback or concern from the guy's perspective on being in the room? Or has it not been an issue for you guys, really?
It hasn't been an issue. And in fact, we have a guy that we played with recently who was not bi. He would receive, but he wouldn't reciprocate. So that was very different. But the couples, I mean, they knew our rules. If they're not comfortable with it, they won't come in. But we've only played with one couple one time that the husband wasn't fully bi, and it was fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but we do have both our profiles say that we're bisexual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we talk about that quite a bit in our profile. And the first communications with them goes to the fact that we are looking for someone who is very comfortable with bisexual guy. This is what I'm interested in. This is what I will allow. But we're also extremely comfortable not being with someone who is bisexual,
right?
And playing with their comfort level as well.
Okay.
Yeah, if we met a couple that was both of them were straight, and we connected, I see no reason why it could move to the next level if we felt like it.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, but we think that our profile probably. Our profile is situated in such and such that we're going to catch those individuals who are probably more interested in the bisexual play.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So.
Just out of the nature of how it's written. Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, we've kind of gone through your basic journey, I guess, over the last many years. What are some of the benefits, I guess, that you guys have noticed? Obviously, more communication and open and honest communication between your relationship. But is there anything else you want to mention that non-monogamy has brought to you guys, your relationship?
Well, one, we are a lot more social. We get to talk to people, mm-hmm. have conversations, go out to eat with people, where typically we would be at home alone, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it allows us to get a different aspect than what we're used to. We have a lot more conversations about the lifestyle. A lot of our time is spent talking about it. So we feel that we're just more communicative with each other on a regular basis because we have a shared interest, another shared interest that we can talk about. It's also the shared secret that we have when we go over to friends or families who don't know, and we can make little comments about the lifestyle, or we can wear our black rings over, and it's our naughty little secret that only the two of us know about. And isn't this fun? And then it's the conversations where, okay, all right, so what's still on our bucket list? What do we still want to do? Mm-hmm. And talk through those things, and will we ever do it? Because as busy as we've been, we've never mastered the art of the double penetration. So that's still on our list, at least my list, and I want to see that happen. And so we finally managed to actually find a couple that all four of us are very, very comfortable with. So we can have that puppy pound and play where we could all be on the bed together. So that was a great experience.
That was fun. Yeah.
And we're both very kinky in our regular sex life. So to find other people that are just as kinky, and that's very cool. And it's just
in a world where you check your social media and wives are complaining about husbands. Oh my God, I wish he would just go out somewhere, and I just need a night out with my girls. And I'm sitting back here going, you guys are so missing out.
Yeah.
Now, non-monogamy brings such another level of intimacy and togetherness to a couple that we've discovered that it just, I have no words. It's just been awesome.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. It's nice to hear that, for you guys, it just really worked and it helped your relationship.
I was curious, have you come out to any of your friends, either on the swinging side or in the bisexual side?
Yeah. Or has anybody, like you said, to mention the black rings, has anybody commented on that you've had to explain it to or wanted to explain it to?
A few people that we know. Okay. I have not come out to anybody at all. Mm-hmm. I have not told any of my friends that I am bisexual, and have not told anybody that I am in the lifestyle. Anybody that has mentioned my black ring, and I don't wear it a whole lot now. We said it was our matching rings we got for each other on our anniversary.
I think his mother was the first one that made mention of it, and she caught on to it pretty quickly. And I came up, gotten pretty quick at coming up with bullshit explanations because you have two kids. Yeah. And they ask you stupid shit, you have to be really quick. So I remember looking at her and going, "Oh no, it's a shadow of our wedding rings on the same ring. It encompasses the entire body." So stupid, but she just ended up and whatever. But I have told at least a couple of our friends. One was to have a safety person. Okay, look, we're going to be at this place. If you haven't heard from me by 10 o'clock tomorrow, call the cops, let my children know, come check and see if we're okay. Interestingly enough, we don't do that anymore. Just, I don't know why, but we just don't do that anymore. We never let anyone know after we came back from the break, did we? No, I don't think we did.
No.
But interestingly, I have a close friend who used to share exploits that she would have when she was cheating on her significant other that I would listen to, and I would kind of live vicariously through her. That was way back before conversations with swinging and stuff. And then when I came out to her at Swingers, she shut it down, and I was so fascinated by why is this mutual consent relationship with other people so wrong, but I'm supposed to sit back and listen while you talk about your exploits with people while you're cheating on someone. I just didn't get it. I don't understand why this is so looked upon with such disgust and disdain. I guess it's just that they don't understand it.
Yeah, or maybe she was pissed off that you got to do what she was doing, and you're allowed to do it. Meanwhile, she's got to sneak around and feel guilty about it all the time.
That's true. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
She told our next door neighbor.
We were drinking.
Oh, darn alcohol makes you do things.
Not only did she tell our next door neighbor that we were lifestyle, but she also told our next door neighbors that I was bisexual.
But in my defense,
you were drinking.
We were drinking, and we've lived next door to each other for over 20 years. So she's told me shit, and I felt totally safe telling her shit because we know too much about each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how'd she take it?
She took it really well, surprisingly. She thought it was interesting and fascinating. I really don't think she expected it out of us, but we've always been called the relationship goals couple with a lot of our friends because we do like to spend so much time together. And little do they know, we have a fuckmobile. You know, we have the car that we take and all that kind of shit. So they have no idea. It surprised the hell out of a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Do you guys have any, one piece of advice from each of you that you wish you could give to either yourself back when you first started or somebody who's just starting to get into this that you think is this is the number one thing they need to know?
It can get extremely overwhelming if you let it. You have to go into it knowing what each partner is comfortable with time-wise allocating toward the lifestyle and knowing what your individual roles are going to be. For example, I'm the one who vets everyone. I'm the one who controls the profiles. I'm the one who controls the kid conversations. And I'm the scheduler. And I'm the one who tries to arrange all the details. That's just more of my personality style. I'm the party planner type person. And I can't expect her to be that person equally with me because we have different roles, different talents. Mm-hmm. To not allow it to take over your life and to realize that it is a lot more than just going in to have sex with other people.
Yeah.
That there is so much more at stake than that. And you have to be serious about this. You have to trust the person you're with. You trust them with your life, with your livelihood, with your family, with everything you hold dear. So you can't just go into this half-baked, just not thinking this through. This is a serious commitment. And if one thing goes wrong, if you're outed, how are you going to deal with that?
Yeah.
So you have to think it through and be serious about this. If this is really, really what you want to do as a couple.
Yeah. Have you guys had that conversation about what would happen if you were outed?
Yeah, we have all these built-in lies that, the photo, we never, one thing we never ever do is we never share our face pics with anyone whatsoever on social media, any aspects whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the pictures that were on Kick could be those that anybody could probably get off of Facebook.
Yeah.
So we have built-in filters that if, oh no, that's not us, someone just stole our profiles and, have identity theft people. And But it would be extremely difficult
Yeah.
to explain to the large base people where rumor is the truth. Until
Right.
proven otherwise.
Yeah.
Right.
It's unfortunate that it's in our society that you feel like you need to be secretive.
Right.
We
Yeah,
mentioned that earlier in the podcast, but it's unfortunate that it's that way.
It is. And then, of course, we just hear, like Mr. and Mrs. Jones have been recently outed, and it just feels so horrible for them. And they seem to have rebounded, but I mean, the struggles that they had to go through, it just compounded the fact that this is real.
Right.
And are we willing to put ourselves in jeopardy to do this? And we are, because we don't, in our whole hearts, we don't feel like we're doing anything wrong.
Right.
And we hope that eventually society will come around to understanding that what we do in our bedroom is our business.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the point of this whole podcast.
So how about you, Mrs. B? What is your tip for the newbies?
I have two facets, and I want to speak to women. One is about the plus size ladies side, and that is get over it. There are so many different shapes and sizes and colors and lumps and bumps, and when you're in the moment, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're there for a bigger purpose. Just stop analyzing every little thing about your body and just get over it and be in it and own that shit. You're hot. They know what they're getting into. That was one of my things. It's like, do they know how big I am? Do they know what size I am? And I've actually only gotten used to being completely 100% naked in the last few months, which is silly, but just get over it. Just be in it and enjoy yourself. And the other side of that is to ladies, it's okay to want this stuff to happen. It's okay to grab a dude by the dick and just start going. And that's still something that I struggle with is being able to pounce. I can't just pounce. For some reason, I feel like I need to be brought into the moment. And inside, though, I know it's okay. Yeah. If I want to look over and do something, it's okay. Just do it. We have these, safe words. You can say the safe word if you want to, but 9 times out of 10, nobody's going to complain if somebody wants to reach over and grab something.
Right.
Yeah, and I imagine that's too within the bounds of that environment. You've already consented with these people and you know that he's okay with it, but you're still too concerned to say, well, he said I could do it. I'm still not going to do it. And I think, that's super common.
And it goes back to confidence, like you said, the body image and being confident enough to do stuff and not care necessarily about being shy and reserved about it. Just go for it. And all comes back to confidence. And that's one thing that we've both noticed in this lifestyle has the increased confidence we've both gained is a lot. Those are really good tips. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's really great to hear that. So I guess we'll get into the last question here and then wrap things up.
Yeah. So you guys mentioned a lot of different podcasts and throughout this conversation, is there any favorite resources you'd like to recommend to the audience?
Well, our favorite overall podcast, I think, getting started was By the Bi podcast. Number one, because bisexuality for men, there's not a lot of podcasts out there to talk about it. So that was a great resource for myself and for the missus as well. Swinging Down Under, C&D, love them, love their humor. We Got a Thing, the Joneses, and Pin and Page with Swinger Diaries. Most of those have been out for quite a while. There's also a lot of new ones that are coming on board as well, which we also like. Of course, in our journey, we found out that the ones with a lot more experience, more sport hang time, we were able to listen to a lot more and listen for their experiences and stuff and learn. But we've also, the missus has also purchased several other resources, books and stuff like that about jealousy and case studies that we have been able to do and homework assignments that we've been able to do to try to understand each other and each other's journey through this together.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of resource material out there if someone's willing to take the time to look for it.
Yeah. Well, What was some of those books, just out of curiosity?
Do you have any favorites?
Oh gosh, one was actually called the Jealousy Workbook, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was Ethical Non-Monogamy. Is that what it was called?
I think so.
Both of those I actually got from Mr. and Mrs. Jones. They interviewed some type of counselor who also turned out to be a swinger, and the whole episode was about jealousy. And I paused the podcast and went and bought the books on Amazon and haven't looked back. Those are just fantastic ways of getting into things. It's more of a mental rehearsal. Okay, what do I do if this does show up? Kind of situation. So that was really, really handy.
Yeah.
Those are really good to know, I think.
Yeah, I think because a lot of it's conditioning, right? We're conditioned a certain way for years and years and years, and now all of a sudden you have to double back on that and say, well, what happens if my husband's doing this with another guy or another girl, and all of a sudden I get jealous? I'm not going to like grab a chair and break it over his back. I have to learn how to like process this, and So no, I think that's really great resources.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for taking the time out of your afternoon and talking with us. It's been great to get to know you guys a little bit more.
Yeah, and I want to say too, it was a really awesome story hearing you guys talk about. I mean, for one, having to come out individually, and then being able to come out to each other, and just the story was really inspiring for me personally. Like to hear that. It's really cool to see people like that in the space, and we're happy for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations. It's a really exciting story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's great to have a platform on which to tell the story and people don't judge you for it. So
right.
Thank you very much for what you're doing and what you'll continue to do for many, many years to come, hopefully.
Well, we hope so. And
thank you.
We're happy to do it. So hopefully we will keep in touch, and we'll have a great afternoon.
Right.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.
It's us again. We wanted to thank Bi and Bi 45 again for coming on the show and sharing their story. It was wonderful to talk to them.
Yeah, and thanks again. I mean, a lot of what they talked about was pretty deep, pretty raw. You could tell there was even a little moment of like some realizations in the middle of the episode. So that was really cool. So we wanted to really say thank you for that.
Yeah.
Next week, we have a very unique interview with a couple. They reached out to us on Twitter. They're a couple who got into swinging, then got out of swinging, and then they were sort of like looking for something to do in the meantime, and they started making porn, and now they got back into swinging, and now they make basically porn of them swinging. So it's a really fascinating interview. It was a lot of fun to talk to them. So you're going to really want to come in and listen to that one, and we will see you guys in a week.
Bye, everyone.